Hey there, everybody. Good morning and welcome into the Farm to Table Show Saturday edition. Now, I know why you're here. You might not know why you're here, but I know why you're here. You've been scrolling through those articles about AI taking jobs. You've read that 73% of Americans think cashiers are done for, that 59% think journalists are next. Maybe your field of work was on one of those lists. Maybe you're lying awake at 3 a.m. wondering how you're going to provide for your family when the robots can do your job better, faster, and cheaper. Maybe you're refreshing LinkedIn for the third time today, wondering if you should learn to code or go get another certification or somehow become AI proof. And I get it. I really, really do. But what if I told you that while everyone's scrambling to stay one step ahead of artificial intelligence, they're completely missing a different kind of intelligence, one that's been around for thousands of years, one that makes you more secure, not less, more valuable, not less, more human, not less. What if the answer isn't finding another job that AI can't do yet? What if the answer is stepping out of that game entirely? So stay with me here. It's going to get a little bit sketchy, and you might be going, "What are you talking about, Ryan?" But trust me, we're going in a perfect direction for today. Now, the thing nobody's talking about is all those AI displacement articles don't tell you is that while you're worried about losing your job, you've already lost something much more fundamental. You've lost the ability to provide for yourself and your family, independent of any system, any company, any economy. Think about that. When's the last time you ate something you grew yourself? Now, I know some of the people here in chat and some of those watching do grow their own food, and they're already in the game. So, when's the last time you met someone who got laid off from feeding their family from their own land? Haven't happened. Right now, you're completely dependent on a supply chain that ships your food an average of 2,000 miles. Get that? 2,000 miles worth of shipping. Crazy. You're dependent on corporations that you can't name and growing varieties that you can't save, using methods you don't understand. And that same system, that's about to automate your job. It's already automated your food security decades ago. But here's the thing, that automation, it's fragile, it's vulnerable, Mm. it's expensive for sure, and it's completely unnecessary. Now you say, what are you talking about, Ryan? It's completely unnecessary. Well, what we're about to show you is how to start taking back control, how to build real security that no algorithm can touch, how to create value that increases every year instead of becoming obsolete. That's right, just like we always do, we're talking about growing your own food. And not just this year, but in a way that makes you more capable, more secure, more self reliant with every season that passes. Mm. So, what does real security look like? Let me paint you that picture. It's 2027. The AI revolution has accelerated. Your old industry looks nothing like it did 2 years ago. But here's the thing, you're not panicking. You're not scrolling job boards. You're not even wondering if you can afford groceries this month. Mm. You're in your backyard harvesting tomatoes that you grew from seeds you saved last year. And those seeds came from plants that were perfectly adapted to your soil, to your climate, your growing style. Tomatoes taste better than anything you can buy, cost you practically nothing to grow, and fed your family all summer long. Now, your neighbor comes over, worried about her job at the bank. She's heard they're implementing AI customer service, and she's scared. But you know what you do? You hand her that basket of vegetables and you hand her a small envelope of seeds. And you calmly and comfortably tell them, plant these, plant these. And you tell her, let's show you what I've learned. And in that, you pass it on. In that, you're passing on that knowledge. And this isn't a fantasy. This is what happens when you start thinking differently about security. Now, I know you say, Ryan, what are you talking about? These people are looking about losing their job. They're scared of those things, and I'm just going to hand them some tomatoes. You may just think you're handing tomatoes or cucumbers or whatever it is. You may just think you're handing them a bag of seed, but what you're handing them is security, What you're handing them is freedom, the ability to feed their families, because above and beyond everything else, that's our priority. That's what everybody's concerned about. How am I going to eat? How are my kids or my grandkids going to eat? And that's what you're passing over the fence right there. Now, let's talk about the intelligence that can't be automated. You see, while everyone's talking about artificial intelligence, they're forgetting about good old natural intelligence. The intelligence built into every seed. The intelligence you develop when you learn to read soil, when you learn to read the weather, when you learn how to read plants. And that's what no AI can do. They can't feel the subtle difference between soil that's ready for planting and soil that needs another week. They can't smell when fermentation is just right for seed saving. You see, they can't see the tiny signs that tell you a plant is stressed before it shows obvious symptoms. They can't know which variety will thrive in your specific microclimate. And guess what? It can't develop the intuition that comes from seasons of careful observation. These aren't just gardening skills, these are survival skills, security skills, skills that make you more valuable in an uncertain world, not less. Now, your first step into food independence. Now, I know what some of you may be thinking. You live in an apartment. I've never grown anything. My favorite, I don't have time. And I don't know where to start. Well, if you're watching this, you've got the first step down because we're going to help you out. We're going to make this simple for you. You're going to start with saving seeds, not growing a whole garden, just saving seeds from food you're already buying. Now, you say, why does that matter? Well, when you save a seed, you're capturing genetics that are adapted to survive. When you plant that seed, you're growing food that is perfectly suited for your conditions. When you save seeds from those plants, you're creating varieties that get better every year. It's like compound interest, but for food security. Let's start with tomatoes. I love a good tomato, all right? And almost everybody eats tomatoes. And, they're pretty tough to mess up, okay? Next time you buy tomatoes, now key statement here, at the farmer's market or at one of those type of places, at a farm hub or a farm store. Mm, okay. Now it has to be the heirloom variety. Okay. You need to ask that question. It needs to be heirloom, not hybrid. Okay. So here's what you do. You wait for them to get perfectly ripe, and in fact, almost overripe. You scoop the seeds out into a small jar with a little water. Let them ferment for 3 to 5 days. Now, yes, it smells weird, like your kid's gym socks, okay? But that fermentation, it kills diseases and removes the coating that prevents germination. Now, you rinse them and dry them out on a coffee filter or a dry piece of paper. Then, when they're dried out, you store them in a cool, dry place with a label that says what variety and what year. And that's it. You've just taken your first step towards food independence. Now, that sounds pretty straightforward, right? Not too complicated. Let's talk about the compound effect of that. Here's what happens next spring when you plant those seeds. You get tomatoes that are adapted to your specific conditions. They taste better than store bought, which we all know, and they cost you practically nothing. And you save seeds from the best plants, which means next year's tomatoes, they'll be even better. All right. Year 3, even better. Year 5, you've got varieties that are perfectly adapted to your space, your soil, your climate. And year 10, the Lord grants us that, you're growing food that literally cannot be bought in any store. But here's the real magic. You're not just growing tomatoes, you're growing confidence, you're growing skills, you're growing knowledge, you're growing independence. You're becoming someone who can provide for their family regardless of what happens in that job market. Now, beyond our backyard, okay, let's think bigger. You know what's recession proof? Food. Absolutely. Food today is worth more than food yesterday. It doesn't matter what happens. You know what's automation proof? Growing food. That's right. You know what gets more valuable during uncertain times? The ability to feed people. As you develop these skills, opportunities start appearing that you never saw before. Maybe the neighbors want to buy your extra produce. Maybe people want to learn what you know, and we know that happens. Communities want leaders who understand food security. Maybe a restaurant wants ingredients they can't get anywhere else. And more than that, You become part of a network of people who are building resilience together, people who share seeds, who share knowledge, resources, people who understand that real security doesn't come from climbing corporate ladders. Mm-mm. It comes from building deep roots. So you have a choice in front of you right now. Right now, you have a choice. You can keep playing the game where your value decreases every year as AI gets better. Or you can keep competing for jobs in industries that are disappearing. You can keep on depending on the system that you even see as replaceable, and they see you as replaceable, more importantly. Or you can start building something different. You can start developing skills that make you more valuable every year. You can start creating security that no one can take away from you. And you can start providing your family in ways that connect you to the land, to your community, and honestly to thousands of years of human wisdom. Now, I'm not saying, get this, listen, I'm not a, I'm not a lawyer, I'm not a doctor, and I don't play one on TV. Okay, I'm not saying quit your job tomorrow. Okay, I'm not saying quit your job. What I'm saying is this right here: start building an alternative. Start small. Start with seeds. Because here's what I know: the people who are going to thrive in the coming decades aren't just the ones who learn to compete with AI. In fact, you probably need to learn how to understand it. They're the ones who remember how to do things that AI can't do. Okay. They're the ones that remember how to do things before AI, things that require human intuition, human relationship, human care. Now, that's the thing. Hmm, that's the thing. Now, what if security isn't what you think it is? All our lives, we've been told security comes from having a good job, a steady paycheck, benefits, a retirement plan. Well, what if real security is much, much simpler than that? What if real security is knowing that no matter what happens to the economy, to the supply chain, to the job market, you can feed your family? What if real security is having skills that get more valuable during hard times, not less valuable? What if real security is being part of a community that values what you know, not what you can produce for someone else's profit? The people who understood this, they survived the Great Depression. They survived wars, economic collapses, natural disasters, dare I say the pandemic, in a lot better shape. Not because they had great jobs, but because they had great skills. Skills like growing food, preserving food, saving seeds. Skills that are waiting for you to rediscover them. So, with the seed in your hand, I want you to imagine something. It's 5 years from now. The AI revolution has reshaped everything. Some people are thriving, others are struggling. But you can be different. Standing in your garden. Now, maybe it's a backyard, or maybe it's containers on a balcony. Maybe it's a small plot you rent from a neighbor, but you're holding a tomato that came from some seeds, some very special seeds you saved this year. That would be 5 years before, from that first tomato you bought at that farmer's market. But this tomato is different. It's adapted to your soil. It's adapted to your climate and your care. And it's better than anything you can buy. And in your other hand, you're holding the seeds from this tomato. Seeds that will grow even better tomatoes next year. Your child is with you, your grandchild, learning what you learned, learning that security doesn't come from having the right job, but from having the right skills. Learning that the most valuable intelligence isn't artificial, it's natural, it's human, and it's ancient. You're not worried about AI taking your job because you've remembered something more fundamental: how to take care of yourself and the people you love. The future starts with a choice that you make today. That'll preach all day right there. The future starts with the choice you make today. And that choice starts with a seed. And the question is, are you ready to plant it? I want to thank you for listening. If this resonated, and if you're ready to take that first step towards real security, start looking for those heirloom tomatoes at your local farmer's market this weekend. Buy one, save the seeds, and plant them next spring. Your future self will thank you. And if you want to go deeper into this conversation about building resilience, developing real security, creating the kind of life that can't be automated away, we'll be here every week sharing what we've learned. So until then, remember, the most radical thing you can do in an age of artificial intelligence is to cultivate natural intelligence, your skills, your security, and it's all waiting for you in just a handful of seeds. All right. Good morning, everybody. Good morning. It is roll call time. Let's go back up to the top and see who is in. We have had it going on. Good morning, Rebecca Touchbayard. Good to see you in this morning. Of course, Terry's in with us, and he was out and about doing some awesome things, and we'll talk to him in a minute about that. And hey, good morning, Tracy. Good to see you in this morning. And let's see. Oh, coming through here. Let's see. Uh, let's see. Let's back up. Don't learn to code. Anyway, try to do a little job security there, ain't you, Terry? I see what's going on. Anyway, AI does that now. Let's see. I go to the farmer. Rebecca said I go to the farmer's market and I buy it from the people that have grown it. There you go. That is exactly so much better. There we go. Let's see. Tracy said, love sharing knowledge, and you do a good job of that. Let's see. Don't use my SNAP card at the store. At the farmer's market where I live, I'm able to receive more tokens because they give you more money. Get at the store. That's awesome. That's a way to make it last. Uh, oh, Tracy, this is so mean. I'm making zucchini cake while visiting this morning. Very good. Let's see. I'm posting the video tonight. Yep, on the other channel. Yep, which by the way is in the kitchen with Tracy and Tim, and we got to meet Tim last week. Great guy. Pulled a pin on YouTube. Okay, let us know what you think. And here, a Cherokee Purple. Made us get a bit overripe, so I get to set aside to save the seeds. There we go. Good deal. Good morning, Joy Bartlett. Good to see you in this morning. And let's see. And Edward Braden. Hey, I just given over 1,000 seed packet from my farm supply store of 2025 seed. Been sharing it with everyone I know. I'm going to put that up. That's a Facebooker, actually. Yeah, look at that. Over 1,000 seed packets from the farm supply store of 2025 seed. That is awesome, Edward. That is totally cool. Good to see you in this morning, by the way. Let's see. Who do we got here? Yep. When you save seeds, they're more accustomed to your location. Tracy shared, reinforcing what we were just talking about. Good deal. Let's see. Thought of everything. We're just figuring it out. I like that, Tracy. That's it right there. That's the truth. Um, let's see. Da, 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 da. All right. Hey, good morning, Robbie. Good morning. That's okay. Good to see you in. You ain't late. You're here. Uh, I don't see the message pinned on. Okay, we'll have to see. Morning here. See. All right. Well, that's roll call complete. Listen, I'm going to go over here and we're going to bring in my brother. Good morning, bro. And are you with me? Uh oh. Uh oh. Terry, you might be having
I,
a little difficulty.
I know. I'm seeing him a little choppy.
Yeah, bro.
Good
Something
morning.
about when we go into the basement. Good morning. Yeah. Something about when we go
I
into the
am. Can you
basement.
hear me?
Yeah. Yeah. It's lagging, but
Are we going out?
yep. Yeah. Yep.
Yes.
Yep.
He
There
was
he
very Max Headroomy this morning.
wasn't he though? Yeah. So anyway, good morning, Terry.
Good
Uh,
morning.
while he's getting his technicals worked out, I guess we can talk about what I just talked about. We can talk about your previous week's wild adventures. And,
Oh, yeah. I mean, it was fun. I mean, I love what you were talking about today, though. I mean, there's so much going on with AI. That's what they're pushing in work. It's AI this, AI that. Here's how you use the AIs, the co-pilots, what we use,
right.
and all that kind of stuff. Of course, AI is all in the computer industry. So,
Oh yeah, it's changing so fast, and that's what me and Keith were talking earlier this week about it. That it's here. I mean, there's no running from it. It's here, and we can learn how to work with it, and we can understand it, and learn what it can and can't, and learn how to deal with it. Or we can be a luddite, and just stick our head in the sand and try to forget about it. And that's not productive, not safe anyway. Uh, and so
and that's the way I normally lean. It's like, yeah, I don't want to mess with that, and I just don't.
well, and I get it. And listen, Keith and I use Chat GPT quite a bit. And we've developed some. Keith, we got other stuff beyond that, but that's the primary driver. And I was so resistant to it for a long time. I was so resistant. And finally, it's like, okay, I've got to have this tool because it's going to save me time. And as busy as I am, I have to do that everywhere I can. And so once I got into it, started using it, learning it, it's like, okay. But the scary thing, and Keith had to kind of pull me back off the edge on this one, is it tries to become your friend. It tries to learn you. It tries to get all chummy with you. And, you know, I had to stop talking to it like I would a person and start giving it direction and command like a machine. And,
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of one of those things. But yeah, so it is. And it's when we were talking about the show and building it in, trying to figure out how to incorporate seed saving into a conversation about AI. You know what I'm saying? And because it was like, what do we do? And it's like, matter of fact, I'm going to go ahead and bring that overlay up so people could see the comments while we're talking. Keith can, there we go. When Keith gets in, we'll figure it back out. But anyway, the that it was trying to figure it out. And, because I didn't want to insult people when you sit there talking about they're worried about their job, they're worried about their income, what they're going to do. And we're talking about saving seeds. It seemed kind of like, really? But the more I thought about it, the more I was like, okay, I kind of get it. We're going back to, all right, let's see if we can bring Keith in and it worked this time. Bro, all right. Is it better?
Think
Nope.
anything
Nope.
better?
Oh no. Yeah, it's
Hear
still
me?
pretty choppy. No, it's yeah. Your audio don't sound terrible, but you're chopping and it's not keeping up with you. Yeah, yeah. Okay.
I think I heard him say he's resetting everything.
Yeah, and he did that this morning before we started. I mean, long before we started, he got on and did a complete reset. But it's okay. We'll push on just like always. Fortunately, me and you can talk about this stuff. But yeah, But then when I realized, it's like, if you can take people's concern for food out of the equation, if they can feed their family, their kids, their grandkids, whatever, and they're not worried about what they're eating, it makes the other stuff a little easier to deal with. It's just
Oh, absolutely. Well, that's one of the reasons why we've got our homestead. One of the reasons why we've been trying to do what we've been doing is so we aren't dependent upon the job.
right,
A few years ago, they were sort of about to enforce you have to do certain things or you're going to get fired.
right,
And we'll not talk about that, but
yeah,
and I wasn't going to do it. And my wife and I had talked about it, and it's like, well, I may not have a job if they decide to do it.
right,
And they didn't end up doing it. They backed away from that, but um, and then that goes back to what Tracy was saying. The way, and you were talking about it. Each year, seeds get a little bit better if it's grown in your area,
right,
and to me that definitely ties into the AI stuff. That's
right. And it is. I mean, so much of that goes together. And like you said, it's embraced. AI is so. Uh, there are a lot of things that it's going to do better, and there are a lot of jobs it's going to take, and you know, so we can learn to adapt. I happen to work in an industry that it's going to take a while. Yeah, yeah. I ain't saying it will never. I'm just saying it's going to take a while, and but at the same token, you know, when you look around, and I think like we mentioned customer service. Yeah, I see that one easily. And you and Robbie were talking about the editing software. In the chat there. Certainly I've got tons of stuff that pushes in on that. And every time I log into and I get on my Windows, it wants me to the companion. It wants me to go there, and so
yeah. I don't use any of it. Occasionally, I'll ask one of the AI chats a question,
right.
but
Yeah. Well, like I said, Keith and I have learned to use, certain parts of it just from a time management perspective. And we still have to interact. It's still us creating. We still have to give it the direction, tell us what we want. But I always just look at it. It's my virtual assistant. It's my writing assistant. It's my, it helps me do those things, and that's just the way I treat it. And but at the same time, understanding that it's becoming a part of the system. It's getting sucked into it, and I resisted a smartphone forever. Rolled around with a flip phone forever. You know,
Uh,
uh,
I was one of the first ones on that bandwagon. Once the Androids came out, I was chomping at the bit for that first Android phone to show up.
I remember when the first iPhone, coworkers of mine were getting them, and I told them they were insane for paying that much for a phone. But and I resisted it. I mean, I have not had an iPhone that long, a couple of years, I guess, maybe. I stayed flip phones forever, and people would laugh at me and poke at fun at me, but I didn't care. It did what I wanted it to do. Yeah, and but anyway, so yeah, it's I don't know, but when you, like I said, when you take food security off, that kind of tends to off the table, that kind of uh, tend to even things up. Uh, but I tell you what, I mean, Keith is having difficulties this morning, so we're gonna uh, kind of move on. He needs to get it figured out, but uh,
Yeah, he does.
he needs to get it figured out real quick. But anyway, so yeah, that's just it is what it is. We can adapt and learn. I heard a beep. Okay, let's see if we can bring him in. All right, because we're ready to move it on over, bro.
Well, I was just praying that this worked.
Much
It is.
much better. Yes. All right. But
All right.
well, anyway, well, me and Terry kind of beat the AI seed thing to death. So in the chat group, so we've got that. So looking at the old clock, it's about time to move to that next phase of the operation here today. And so I know Kane's listening, and I'll let you do that. It is time for me to bug out of here, and so perfect timing. I'm telling you. Uh,
Yeah.
so I'll hand this over to you and Terry, and folks, you'll have you'll see a little word from me here towards the end. But at the same time, I also got to go to my job today. So I hope you enjoyed the monologue, and I hope you enjoyed the topic and conversation that we were having this morning. I know the chat was doing well over there, and guys, I'm gonna bug out of here and hand this over to y'all.
Be safe.
All right. See you, bro.
See ya.
All right. So I'm really excited to bring on this next guest. If he's been on our show in the past, and he's a good friend of ours, and somebody who's near and dear to our heart, and who's got a heart of gold. And before I go much further, I'm just going to kind of open up an introduction for him in just a little segment. And I know that most people here don't know, but we're doing a documentary, uh, and this is just a little segment toward the end of the documentary that I thought said a lot about this next person that I am going to introduce. And with that being said, we're going to get that started.
When you're caring for people, God provides. That's why we just get up every day knowing that we're doing our part and God's going to do his part. At the end of the day, hey, we can lay down and go to sleep and say, hey, we've helped somebody and come closer to Jesus. Maybe keep them from overdosing, keep them from dying. But that's what my purpose is. Help people. Yeah. Help people. Love you.
And without
Wow, that was
further ado,
good.
yeah, pretty good, right? And so our next guest once rode a Texas Longhorn in a ministry that he called No Bull About Jesus. And with that, I want to welcome my good friend uh, and brother in Christ, Kane Riggs. Welcome to the show.
Hey, good morning, everybody.
I'm going to
Morning,
try to
Kane.
change us around here a little bit. There we go. Put this guy over here on the center stage. And be honest with me, Kane. Whenever you was riding that Longhorn in that ministry called No Bull About Jesus, did he ever try to buck you off in mid sermon?
No, he never did, man. That was that breaking that longhorn steer was kind of a God thing, and man, he never bucked, he never hurt anybody, and I rode over 10,000 people on him. I took him into prisons and preached off of him. I took him all over the place, and he never bothered anybody. He was quite the gentle steer.
Yeah, so that is a very interesting part of your background. Now, to bring people a little bit more forward into where you are currently, you've got a facility. How many toilets does that facility have?
Oh, there's no telling. There's 12 buildings here, 58,000 square foot of buildings. I can tell you, I have over 19 electric meters. If that helps you in any way, we can house at full capacity probably over 100 people here.
Oh, wow. Wow. So let's just for the sake of argument say there were 50 toilets. Is it harder dealing with 50 toilets or 50 addicts?
Oh, definitely 50 addicts.
Yeah, it's pretty touching sometimes, and I know it's not always easy going.
Yeah,
But I'm just going to kind of do a little bit of deep dives in some of the conversations that you and I've shared in the past, and like I say, folks, this whole exercise is to show you the heart of another individual, to make connections where connections didn't exist before. And with that, Kane, you said one time, I can't do anything in moderation, even recovery.
that's
Tell us
right.
how mindset drives your mission today.
Well, I mean, I was a drug addict and alcoholic for 20 years, one of the worst kind, and I was all in. So I would go to bed drinking and drugging, and I'd wake up drinking and drugging. And so whatever I do, I tell people I do whole hog. And so going on 17 years ago, God radically changed me, and I just knew that I was going to help as many people come out of addiction and come to know Christ as I could. And I had a supernatural spiritual awakening, and I just told God, I said, God, I'll go where you want me to go, and God, I'll do what you want me to do. And I started out housing people in a storage building in my backyard, some of my drug buddies, and I would try to get them off the streets, and I would give them a job, take them to church, take them to meetings. And we kind of outgrew that. I started keeping them in camping trailers, and then a cowboy church took me on because I had the bull. I traveled around. My ministry was No Bull About Jesus, and I'm preaching off a longhorn steer. His horns are this long, and giving little kids Bibles, and just telling them Jesus loves them. I mean, I've been a drug addict for 20 years. At the start, that's all I knew to say is, hey, Jesus loves you. And I would just share my testimony. And we moved into the barn there at the cowboy church, and we outgrew that. I was housing 22 men in a barn, had them stacked in there like cordwood.
Yeah. So um, there was another thing that you said to me, Kane, that kind of illustrates the individual that you are. And you gave away your landscape business, not sold. You gave it away because God told you to. What happened
Yeah.
next?
Man, that was a hard one there. So I've ever since I'm 23 years old, I'm 51 now. I've always worked for myself. I'm kind of an entrepreneur type guy, and I've been a landscaper by trade at this time for probably 14 years, something like that. I don't know. And, God just put it on my heart because we was building this ministry, and I was trying to build a bunkhouse at our cowboy church. I was gardening there. I tell them I started this at $1.50 a pound. And so I was selling tomatoes and all that stuff. And God said, you're going to have to give this business away and just do what I've called you to do. And man, I really struggled with it. And, I finally done it. I give the business away. I had a house that me and my wife had just come out of addiction. We'd lived in camping trailers, dope houses. We'd got us a house. We remodeled it, my wife had never lived in a house with central heating there. She grew up in a drug house, in a dope house. And so, we thought life was just going good. And God says, okay, now give it away and let's do something different. And it was hard. My dad told me, he said, son, that's crazy. But you know what? When I told God, I'll go where you want me to go and do what you want me to do. That's what I done. And man, it was hard for several years. We lived on almost nothing. And, it's kind of funny. Uh, I grew a big garden, and I would sell produce, and the kids would get out there, and we would pick produce, and we were selling it for $1.50 a pound. And I had a big truck patch, and that's how I was making our spending money. That and then traveling around with this bull, but a few years later, talking about the seed. A few years later, things began to kind of level out in our life, and a little bit, and it wasn't so hectic. We lived in a camping trailer for a while, but I was reading in Genesis, and God showed me something that says, every seed will reproduce after its own kind. And it was just like God spoke to him, and he said, you give that business away, I'm going to give you a bigger, better business. And so I was booed up about it, and I got over being booed up, and I said, okay, God, I'm going to trust you. And a few years went along, and he gave me a construction company, and I'm a landscaper. But so me and one of the guys that graduated the program bought some lawnmowers, and we was mowing. And the next thing you know, we had a dump truck. The next thing you know, we had a track hole, a skid steer, a 1 ton, and we're doing big jobs. I mean, we done 3 jobs that lasted about a little over 3 years. And all the money I made, I put back into the program and put back into the guys, because my reward for that was I'm going to get to keep this equipment. I said, God, I've always wanted a skid steer. Boys like big toys, and
Yeah.
so and I told my wife, I said, man, this is what I've always wanted. And it was just like one day I got up as we was moving from the cowboy church to a pole barn to this place where we're at now, and God began to put it on me to give this business away. And I'm like, no, 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 I don't want to do that. And things kept not working. It would work just enough to make it look good, but then it didn't work. Every day I seen that dump truck go out the driveway, it just made me sick. And finally, I come to the point, and I just began to pray to God. And I said, God, I was trying to hold on to this stuff. I'd run my credit line of about $30,000, and He's telling me to get out. And finally, I just woke up one morning, and one of my guys that was a mentor of mine that I done a lot of stuff with, I called him. I told him, I said, God told me to give this equipment away, this equity in this equipment, and I called a guy up, and so this is the second business I give away. And I knew the principle behind it, and I knew what I needed to do, but that still didn't help, because I really want to keep that skid steer and track hole, because the track hole was paid for. We had we had done some things, and God had made a way, and we paid for a mid-sized track hole. The dump truck was paid for, and the other things I owed some money on, but I had equity in it, and it was like God said, give it away. And so I called a man up that was a friend of mine that was just starting a construction company. And I said, God wants me to give you this equipment. Do you want it? And he gets real quiet on the other end of the phone. I said, I still owe on it. But I said, but you just take over the payments. That's what God's told me to do. And he said, it kind of got quiet, and he said, well, let me pray about it. He calls me back just a little bit later. Yeah, bro, I'm going to take that equipment, man. I told him, I said, this one piece is paid for. I'm half owner in it. It's paid for. I'm giving you my half of it. And anyway, kind of a neat deal. And so, but I know that every seed reproduces after its own kind. And I'd run up a $30,000 credit line. And you don't make, but you don't get rich helping people in recovery. So here I am, incurred a $30,000 debt because I wasn't listening to God. But God always makes a way. I had a friend, and we done some real estate deals, and I wiped the debt out. God did in just a short amount of time. And today I'm waiting for the next bigger, better business, because we need something in industrial park here where I'm at that just hires drug addicts and felons, because it's hard to get these guys jobs. And so we have 50 people living here on the place, and we really need to be able to go to a factory. And so God has shown me that we're going to have a factory of some kind that can hire people in recovery, that's a great work atmosphere. That, hey, we can have meetings during the day at lunch, bring in speakers, have group there, and be productive. And because here's what I figured out is God blesses the work of our hands, and so I'm just waiting. I'm just waiting for this next business to kick off.
Yeah, so I'm glad you said that that God blesses the work of our hands because um, one of the things that was striking to me, we deal with the homesteading community. We're a part of that. Our heart is in this homestead community, the people that's in this community, because we believe that it provides the solution to a lot of the things that we see going on locally,
You
in
bet.
our state, in our country, and even the world. A lot of the principles, and it takes us back to the basic Genesis story. He placed us in a garden.
You bet.
It became our first occupation, and so that's not lost on me. And I feel like not only are we trying to recover addicts, but you're trying to recover some ancient um, form that God put in, in something as simple as the intelligence of a seed. And
You
and
bet.
over in the chat earlier, I noticed somebody said something about that seed remembers its location. So whenever you get a seed out of something out of your garden, it gains some kind of intelligence there. Well, that didn't come artificially. They came by divine design.
You
And
bet.
so, one of the things that I had noticed, through 633 recovery is you guys got goats, you got chickens, you did a garden this year. You've got the program that's buy a melon, help a felon, which is
That's
something
right.
that this is the season for it. Get a
Yes.
T-shirt and a melon right now for $30, guys. So uh, anyway, but circling back around that, it's just where those connections are between homesteading and recovery and Christ. You know, and with that being said, it kind of leads me into something else you said to me, Kane, and it really touches my heart, and it kind of goes really deeply into the philosophy. And we don't hide our Christian beliefs here on this show. We don't hide behind it. We put it out in front. We're not ashamed to say it. But you said something to me one time, and it was kind of touching, and it's not meant to judge anyone. But this is what you said. You talked about the church failing to show up when addicts need it the most. What would it take to change that? And if I remember right, kind of the way you put it to me, Kane, was he said, if it's late in the evening and and you need a preacher or someone to talk to late in the evening when you're going through some struggle, you'd be hard pressed to find a church that's open or a preacher to talk to. But you could be bellied up to a bar 15 minutes from now.
You bet. Any time of the day. And man, it really breaks my heart because we spend all this money on these church buildings, and we have these big beautiful things with the beautiful carpet that we can't even go in because we might track something in on the floor. And then we got broken people out there that need people, that we don't need it just on a guy like me. Sunday morning and Wednesday night, that don't cut it because I was in the drugs and drinking 24/7. And so you pull me out of that, you tell me Jesus is going to change my life and you need to come to church. And then the church is not open. That the devil does better job at discipling people than the church does,
Mhm.
because the dope houses are always open. They run 24/7. The beer joints around here, they're closed maybe for an hour. I can go to Fort Smith right now, Little Dudes is open. But if I got out and started driving around trying to find a church that's open right now, I'd be hard pressed. We can probably find them. They'll be open tomorrow, but come Monday morning, you'd be hard pressed to find one. But Little Dudes Monday morning will be open at 6:30. These clubs stay open till 5 in the morning, so you've got an hour and a half that the clubs are not open, so you can go in there and buy a drink and sit at the bar, and some man or some woman will hear all my problems and pat me on the back and tell me, hey, you're going to be all right. And I can't find nobody that tells me that they have the answer. They're not even their buildings are not even open, and so it's kind of tough.
Mm.
Yeah, yeah. And so, I mean, you make a really good point. And listen, one of the things I want to tell to my brothers and sisters in Christ is this is not meant to be a condemnation of
No,
anyone.
no, no. But I mean, because that's just what we do. That everybody's been trained to do that.
Yeah,
And so, for the last umpteen hundred years, this is how it's worked. And now we're figuring out that it don't work. And so, what works is having home groups and small groups and cell groups of individuals that, hey, I can call you in the middle of the night and you'll answer the phone and say, I can say, hey, Keith, man, I'm struggling. I want to get high. Hey, something's going on. And I can actually have somebody to talk to. Or I can even come to your house, but the mainstream commercial church, that's really not there. And so it's just what it is. It's not being mean or mad or anything. It's just really the truth.
but whenever you brought in a Christ-based recovery, talk to me just a little bit about how effective that is, because you guys have a church life. It's not church on Sunday and Wednesday. You
Now,
guys actually live a church
we
life.
study the word together every day. We meet in the morning, we meet in the evening, we eat together. I live here with them. So here on our property, there's 50 people that live here or more. And some people say, they call us a cult, they call us all kinds of things, but really we're just a community of people that's come together that has the same problems, and we know that we have the answer. And so it takes meeting together, it takes reading the word together, it takes having meals together. And I mean, that's how the church started, meeting in these small groups. And because we do a little formal deal on Sundays, we call it our outreach, but it's just a place to go for 2 hours where we can have a 12-step meeting, because we do all the stuff right here. Because if you're just going to a building somewhere for an hour, 2 hours a week, and that's all you're doing, you're not doing it anyway. But we've made people think that that's the main thing, instead of saying, hey, you know what, if you can't make it today on Sunday, why don't you read the word and sit down with your family and do it every day, and that's what we do, even with my family at home, and we spend a lot of time talking about the word together
That's right. Walk by the Spirit. That's not just on a certain day, right? It's a
every day.
walk every.
Every day.
So, Kane, with that being said, this is one of my favorite parts of the show, although I've just absolutely loved our visit here this morning. But it's our show and tell section. And I think Ryan
Amen.
asked you to bring something. Did you figure something out?
Man, I was tore in the middle. I got two things, and really, so this is what I love about the homestead community and some of the things that we do here. Discipleship is doing life together. And so when I'm teaching somebody in the garden, or we're doctoring goats, or we're messing with chickens, or we're canning, so I brought with me today pickled okra.
Okay.
Now, I do got a handmade knife too, and so, but I want to talk about pickled okra because because our ladies. So we've been making okra and pickles and salsa the last few weeks, and we have a ladies program here, and we keep around 5 ladies, but I keep around 30 something men. But I went over there with the ladies, and we made pickles one day, we made pickled okra one day, we made salsa, and none of them had ever canned.
Yeah.
And so, I
Wow.
mean, they laughed and we giggled and had a good time. But when I was a kid, my meemaw and my granny, that's what I done. In the summertime, I would can with them and I would garden with my peepaw. And it brings back good memories for me. But then to get to teach this, and we went through the process, and they've been kidding me. I went over to some friends' house. They've been calling me the pickle professor, and a young couple. They're in their probably early to mid 20s,
And I went over and taught them at their house how to make pickles one night, and they thought that was the coolest thing. But we not only made pickles, we talked about what God's doing in our life. You know, we talked about what work looks like, what it looks like at the recovery center here. That's real discipleship, you know, because in the mainstream setting, I'll come in this class and sit down. We're going to tell you what you should believe about the Bible, and then
And
we're not doing life together.
that's what it's about. It's life. It's walking alongside each other, and that's exactly what the Christian life is supposed to be.
Yes, yes,
supposed to be the body of Christ, right?
yes. And so, man, we made salsa. We sold salsa as a fundraiser last week. We auctioned some of these pickles off. We auctioned off 3 jars of pickles. They brought $240. Who would ever think pickles would bring $240 for 3 jars? But
Awesome.
it's the fun we have at it, you know. And every Thursday night at our men's group, I auction off knives and pickles, and I'll bring out a basket of produce, and we just let people bid on it as a fundraiser, and we just have fun with it. You know what I'm saying? And so serving the Lord's fun. You know, I go into a lot of mainstream religious organizations, and people sitting in there with their arms crossed, and they look like they got something stinky under their nose. You know, and that's not the joy of the Lord. The joy of the Lord's when you're out here in the garden with these men and women that's never done anything like this, that the whole world, the outcast, the bottom of the barrel, and we're talking about life, and we're doing life together, and I'm sharing things out of the Bible about seed time harvest right there while we're growing plants, while we're harvesting the fruit. They can see it from the seed to, hey, look what we have today, a jar of pickled okra. There's
Well,
no,
that's what Jesus
there's
did.
not a better teacher. There's not a better teacher than that.
Right.
You know, it is to teach the word along with life skills.
Yeah, that's how
So
Jesus taught.
Yes, and
yeah,
it's wonderful and it's fun, you know. We do hog scaldings from time to time. You know, an old man taught me how to scald hogs and make cracklings, and we have a hog scalding back at the old place. 150 people would come out to scald a hog, and we would cook it that day, and we would have a meal together. And I would always just share a simple gospel message that, hey, you know what? There's a God out there that delivers drug addicts like me, and it's all level at the foot of the cross. And hey, you ain't nobody been too bad, because I ain't been too bad, and I've done a lot of crap. You know what I'm saying?
yeah.
And so, man, I just get excited. I just get excited, you know, every day knowing that I'm going to get to help somebody.
So hold up that jar for me one more time. Show us the colors in that jar right there.
So we've got some jalapenos in here. We've got some cayennes in here, and then we got okra. I put some whole garlic in here. I've got some minced garlic and some dill weed. And so, you know, it's a simple recipe as one my granny, my meemaw had, and we just kind of been using it and tweaking it around a little bit, and everybody enjoys it.
Yeah. So, when you hold that jar up, I can't help but to think how much healing that has gone into that process of not only growing that, but also preserving that and teaching somebody how to carry something far outside the recovery program into their lives that they can also enjoy, that they can feed other people real food, but also feed people Christ, right? Because that's what we were told to do. If you love me, feed my sheep, right?
That's right.
And so that's what I see your program. But I would think that I would be really remiss if I didn't let you share that men of purpose knife that you guys got there, because this is steel sharpening steel here, guys.
So here's one of our knives here. This is a zebra wood handle. This is 1095 high carbon steel. This is stock removal knife here. They also do hand forged knives. We have a forge here. It's got a mosaic pin in it, a lanyard hole. I forget what they call this style here, but I mean, these guys was sitting out by a campfire at the back of our building, and they had no hoe head. They'd pulled out of the barn down there, and they was watching Forged in Fire, and they was putting that hoe head in there and beating it on a rock, you know, and they was going to make them a knife. And one of our guys come through there that works here, Big Josh, and he said, if y'all can cut that hoe head in half like that, he said, I will go down to the shop and put a handle on it. And so that was about 6 months ago. And like I said, here's some of the stuff that they're doing today. We're doing all of our own leather work here. They make the sheaths. They got a
Wow.
welt in them. I mean, they're making high quality stuff, and so we use this as a fundraiser. But it's not only a fundraiser. There's 3 men that make a living while they're doing this here, and they're learning a trade. And so it's been one of the coolest things. And we're fixing to start making belt buckles, Western belt buckles. We're looking at making spurs and bits and some equine things. And you know, we just believe the sky's the limit. I've got some of the most talented people in the world here. That our prisons are full of talent. And so you just got to get it. We just got to channel it in the right direction.
Yeah, yeah, that's right. And I love the name. You know, it says MOP on there, MOP, but what that means is men of purpose, men of purpose, and that's talking about these men who are out there, you know, building these knives, structuring them, crafting them, putting everything into it, putting their entire heart into this, and putting it into something that brings purpose to them and to other people. And I love that name, Kane. And I know that you guys probably had a little powwow about what you're going to call it, and can only imagine that that's what came out of it. And so, yeah, I just really
No,
appreciate. Yeah,
we believe that God puts purpose in every person. There's not a person out there that is not knitted together with a purpose. And so it just you kind of got to be like a miner to draw this out of them. And it's hard, and you really got to dig for it in some people. But I believe that's one of the gifts that God's given me, to see that in people, you know. And I can see past the tattoos and the FUs and all that, to pull that out of there, because it's messy.
yeah. Yeah, sure is. So this next little section I'm going to go into is called rapid fire, and that's where I just kind of throw some questions out there, and the first thing that comes into your mind, you just give it to me. Okay. All right. So hogs or goats?
Hogs.
Hogs. Oh, really? Kind of thought you'd say goats on that one, but I'll.
But I mean, we're just now getting in the goats, man. And these goats, they've been hard. I mean, them suckers are born to
Yeah.
die, I believe. And so the hogs, man, a hog, you can keep a hog easy. A goat, man, they take a lot of tender love and care.
Okay. So which one's more intimidating, relapse or a full budget review with the board?
Oh, full budget review.
I wasn't sure where he's going to fall on that one.
That would have been
Uh,
my guess.
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah. Hey, I'm past relapse, man. But hey, them, you know, so we have over an $800,000 a year budget here, and so every day that
yeah,
I wake up, I need $2,300 to come in, and that's even on Sundays. You know, there's no days off for that. And people think we're getting insurance money, and they think that we got all these grants, and we don't. We raise our own funds. We get there's some opioid abatement money. We've tapped into very little of it, but man, it's just through the goodness of God, and He blesses the work of our hands. He'll make 3 jars of pickles bring $240, and so, you know,
heck yeah.
we're just always out raising money.
Yeah. And I know that one particular time we were out by the fence. Matter of fact, I think it was right there in that opening scene. Whenever we were out there by that fence talking by the goats there, that you had not yet raised that day's money, and I
No,
think
I
we were
mean,
somewhere in the.
back in September, I come into the month of September. It costs about $68,000 a month. I come into the month with $900 starting the month, and so you know, you got to make payroll. I needed $27,000 that week, and I'm looking at the count. And there's a little over $900 in there, and so you talk about faith building here. You talk about me how you will pray. But you know what? We're still doing it. At the end of the week, the 27,000 was there because God, we're taking care of what God cares about 24/7. This is not a 3 hour week deal. This is hey, we live here, and this is what we live it, breathe it, everything. This is all we do is help people. And so,
Yeah, and I think I'm going to kind of cut it off right there because I've heard you say that many, many times. And as a matter of fact, that was one of the reasons that I chose that opening clip because it was really you. I mean, you told me that several times when we visited. He said, it's all just help people, just help people. And if I could sum Cain up in just those couple of words, that's how I would probably sum up Cain. And the heart of Cain is just help people. And man, I just want to thank you for visiting with us here. I'm about to turn this other section over to Ryan because we're bumping up against the hour here. Well, we're just a little over the hour, and I'm going to turn Ryan's section. He's got about a 10-minute outro here. And Brother Cain, we love you, man. And
love you, man.
I'm so glad you joined us on the show. I enjoyed
Hey,
it.
I love the homestead community. It's good.
Let me give you an opportunity to share where they can link up with you and find you, because I do know that I got somebody over here in chat that said that she wanted to connect with you so she can send knitted hats.
Cool. 633
And
Recovery Inc. on Facebook. Hit us on Messengers the best way, or go to our website at 633recovery.com. But we're manning our Facebook all the time, and so if they'll get on there and shoot us a message.
yeah, and thank you, Terry. Terry has put the link over there in chat, and I'll try to remember to put it down in the comments after the show too, so that anybody who wants to link up with you guys can follow you, can be a part of the mission, because we're all in this together.
Terry, it's good to meet you, man. Come down and see us sometime. We're not too far away.
No, it don't sound like it. I'll have to do that.
Yeah, you
Yeah,
bet. Love to have you.
I'm going to be getting with you guys on some of that, because we've got some more footage that we want to get out at 633. And so it might involve Terry and maybe a couple of other people that we know to come down there, because I got an idea anyway. That's where we're
come on with it.
All right, brother. I'll give you the idea a little bit later. So anyway, thank you, brothers. And I'm going to turn this over to Ryan to take us out of here. Thank you, Terry.
You bet. Bye, y'all.
See ya.
Hey, everybody. I hope you enjoyed this morning's show. I am back here on the Memorex reel to carry us on out of the show. I'll leave a couple of things there for Bro and for all of y'all to handle on your own. But of course, I have those things that are my segments of the show, if you will, the things I do each and every episode. And so, of course, we got to go through those. And so here it is. We're going to jump into it again. I hope you enjoyed today's show. Don't let the old AI bug get a hold of you. Don't be afraid of it. Learn it, understand it. But most importantly, prepare. Preparation is biblical. I stand by that. And, if you know how you're going to feed your family, and you have those certain things that you've put away and you've stored and you've learned, skill sets that are not replaceable. So take that home with you, and hope this is helpful to you, and hope you found it today's show helpful and entertaining. I know who was on the show, so I know it was awesome. But anyway, let's get right on into closing this out for the day. And of course, it is time for today's Brain Buster. That's right, the Brain Buster. All right, here you go, folks. Why do sleeping pills have a warning that states may cause drowsiness? If you were sleeping on that one, why do sleeping pills have warning labels, have a warning that states caution may cause drowsiness? Kind of a duh. Here's your sign moment. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this morning's Brain Buster. All right. Now, of course, we would be remiss if we did not have the quote of the day. The quote of the day is, of course, tied directly to the subject matter, the title. That's what we always do. So I found this one. It kind of hit me, made me chuckle when I found it, and it's certainly tied to it. And so I hope you enjoy it as well. Today's quote of the day, and I know I moved right along. Y'all are probably still scratching your head over the brain buster, and here I am coming in with a quote. So I'm gonna give you 5 more seconds. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. Y'all can leave all them comments in the chat. Y'all can have fun with it. Today's quote of the day: a year spent in artificial intelligence is enough to make one believe in God. Alan Perlis said that. We'll say it again. A year spent in artificial intelligence is enough to make one believe in God. Alan Perlis. I like that. Anyway, that is today's quote of the day. Hope you can take that one and think on that too. Anyway, let's move right on into our upcoming events. Of course, coming up very, very soon, real soon. Ozarks Homesteading Expo, September 5th and 6th, Marshfield, Missouri. It is looking to be awesome. The lineup is the best ever that it's had. It's going to be 2 days of packed learning. It's got all kinds of folks there. It is going to be a great time. Of course, Keith and I are going to be there, and looking forward to that. Looking forward to hanging out with everybody there. Looking forward to catching some speakers and some high quality interviews, and of course, bringing that to you. And I'm certainly looking forward to some of that goat's milk ice cream. Good. Anyway, so super excited about that. Looking forward to that. And of course, at the end of September, our very own Oklahoma Homestead Rendezvous, September 26th and 27th at the Southeast Expo Center in McAlester, Oklahoma. Things are shaping up. Things are getting bigger. The speaker lineup is awesome. The vendors keep pouring in. I think there's still room. Listen, we've got sponsors on board. We've even got a state senator coming down. We're going to have roundtable discussions, speakers, demos. It's going to be a great time. So make your plans. Oklahoma Homestead Rendezvous, September 26th, 27th, Southeast Expo Center, and McAlester, Oklahoma. You can find that and Ozarks Homesteading Expo both on Facebook and on the old Google machine. Of course, Homesteaders of America Conference. We've talked about that quite a bit. That's coming up October 10th and 11th, Front Royal, Virginia. Granddaddy of them all, a lineup second to none. And that is just super exciting, and all the people that's going to be there. Anyway, I know it's sold out of tickets, but hey, you never know. There might be something out there. Keep an eye on it. Again, you can find them on Homesteaders for America Conference, HOA.com or something. Anyway, Google it, Homesteaders for America, and you can find that out. Anyway, Louisiana Homesteader Conference, October 17th to the 18th, Bossier City, Louisiana. That's put on by the LSU Ag Extension down there. And anyway, so if you're down in the Raging Cajun State, if you're down there, and you're looking for some homesteading information, right there, Louisiana Homesteader Conference. You can get on the old Google machine and find out about that as well. All right, moving into 2026. Can you believe it? They've already got things on the calendar. Okie Homestead Expo. That's right. Okie Homestead Expo has announced their dates March 20th and 21st, 2026 at the Mays County Fairground in Pryor, Oklahoma. Looking forward to that as well. Already into the spring. Super lineup. Dr. Temple Granlund. She's going to be there. I know I probably messed that name up, but anyway, and the speaker lineup, as always, is probably going to be great. Right now, they have started yesterday, August 1st, going through Sunday. So there's 3 days, 1st through the 3rd. They are having a sale. It's a VIP special. There's an early bird special on the tickets, I believe, but there's also the early bird VIP. They have put together a VIP package, which includes dinner, includes some goodie bags and a few other things, some premium seating, things of that nature. So check that out. That is out on the Facebook and on the .com. So Google search out there Okie Homestead Expo, and you can find that, or get on the Facebook and find that there. 10 Killer YouTube Meetup has announced their dates, Lake 10 Killer, Oklahoma, April 17th and 19th of 2026. So, again, you make plans. That was a great time last year. The weather cleared up in time for us to have a good weekend, and, super, super great to get to hang out with everybody. And, of course, following that, Mid-America YouTube Meetup is going to be at Lake Texoma, Oklahoma this year. More details to follow on that. May 15th through the 17th, 2025. Mike and Terry at the MT Homestead and all their gang doing a great job there. Of course, Johnny and wow. Miss Christine, Johnny and Christine Gillum with 10 Killer. And I know there's a lot of other people that work with that, with, wow, man, I am having lazy days ahead. Jesse and Lisa, I know work with that. And I know Amy Leonard's been involved with a lot of that with Chris and Amy Leonard Mountain Homestead. So many people involved in those two meetups. And anyway, so opportunity to go hang out with all those other YouTubers. Now, that's all the events that I have right now. As more come on the dates and I become aware of more, of course, we will pass that information on to you. Wow. Got through all of that. Mouthful of information on a Saturday morning. Hope you all, again, hope you enjoyed the show today. Hope you learned something. Hope you took some things away. I'm sure Kane has brought something awesome for show and tell. Anyway, and go check out 633 Recovery. Go check them out. Awesome organization, awesome people doing great work. They're friends, the family, friends of the channel, friends of the program, friends personally, and just awesome group of people there. And thanks to Terry for coming in for that part of the show to help Keith and co-host and just being on call and ready to go. So anyway, that is a wrap for today on the Farm to Table Show, Saturday edition. Thanks for joining us as we strive towards building stronger communities for now and in the future. If you enjoyed today's episode, and I sure hope you did, give us the old thumbs up. All right, give us a thumbs up. Hit that like button, okay? Share it with your friends. Subscribe to our channels on Facebook, YouTube, X, and Rumble. It is the best way to stay connected and help grow the conversation about food, farming, and community. Until next time, keep your roots deep, keep your vision growing. Good food starts with great people, just like you. And remember, we are hashtag stronger together, hashtag connect and grow, hashtag Tablers Unite, hashtag think outside the big box store, shop local. And I know there's others, but I'm going to throw this one out there from a good friend Kane, hashtag rural recovery. Anyway, as we get out of here, and y'all have a great and wonderful weekend, be a blessing to someone this weekend, and do great and wonderful things. I'm going to hand this back over to Keith to do that final saying that we do at the end of the show, and I'm just going to pitch it to him right now. Prepare for the unexpected. And, bro, it's all yours.
And keep it local. Everybody be glorious out there. Thank you for joining us today. We have enjoyed it tremendously. And I'm going to let Hank take us out of here. We will see you next Saturday at 7 a.m.
No humans were harmed in the production of this podcast.